Donald Trump threatened to ban it altogether.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok.
Remember when social media was just about reconnecting with old friends and sharing pictures of your lunch? Yeah, those were the days. But now it's like the digital Wild West out there, and we're all caught up in a never-ending showdown. But how did we get here? Let's break it down, one meme at a time. The rise of the digital civil war. Recently, a significant portion of Americans have been gripped by fears of widespread civil unrest, with a troubling number believing that political violence could actually be justified. It's a reality check no one wanted, but here we are. But it's not just the US. This vibe is spreading worldwide like a viral TikTok dance. People everywhere are picking sides, seeing each other as part of opposing teams. And what's one of the biggest culprits? You guessed it, social media. Social media is like that friend who always stirs the pot, making us more extreme and less empathetic. It's the reason we're all doom scrolling at 2 a.m., feeling more stressed and depressed than ever. It makes you want to chuck your phone and go touch some grass, right? But before you do, let's talk about what's really going on here. Bursting the filter bubble myth. You've probably heard of online filter bubbles. You know, those algorithms that supposedly only show you content that aligns with your beliefs, trapping you in a bubble where everyone agrees with you. The idea is that you're getting more radicalized because you never see the other side. But here's the twist. Extreme filter bubbles are pretty rare. Studies show that the internet actually exposes you to a wider range of opinions than you'd get in real life. Surprise! Your real-life social circle, your friends, family, and neighbors, might be way more ideologically uniform than your online interactions. So maybe it's not the internet that's narrowing your worldview, it might be your offline life. Let's rethink this. For years, we've blamed online filter bubbles for fueling the rising hostility between people. The theory goes that by only showing us content we agree with, the internet has been pushing us further apart. But if that's not entirely true, shouldn't the internet, with all its diverse voices, actually help us become more understanding and empathetic toward one another? Your brain, the ultimate drama queen. Let's be honest, our brains can be kind of stupid. They didn't evolve to make sense of reality. They evolved to help us survive social interactions. Way back when, being part of the tribe was a matter of life and death. So our brains are wired to make sure we get along with our group, even if that means compromising on the facts. Think about it. In the old days, you might have had beef with your neighbor, but you still rooted for the same local team or saw them at church. Those shared experiences created a bond that kept you from going at each other's throats. Our brains were pretty chill with this setup because it was enough to keep the tribe together. But fast forward to today, and we're no longer dealing with small tribes. We've moved on to big cities and even bigger nations. Yet our brains haven't really caught up. They're still trying to sort people into us versus them categories, but now it's on a global scale, and with way more people. The digital town square, aka the new circus.
Woke up this morning and checked my Twitter, went on to Facebook and moaned about the weather, and then I checked my friends.
Enter social media, the digital town square where everyone has an opinion, and most of them are bad. Our brains are not equipped to handle the sheer amount of disagreement we face online. It's like being at a never-ending Thanksgiving dinner where everyone's yelling about politics, but there's no pumpkin pie to make it all better. What's worse, our brains start sorting people into teams based on their opinions. Unlike your neighbor, who you might see at the local grocery store, the people online who disagree with you don't have any of those shared bonds. Your brain starts thinking of them as the enemy, and suddenly their opinions seem downright evil. And when you hear bad things about them, your brain is like, yep, sounds about right.
Looking at a lot of kids dancing sexually, it's going to give you more kids dancing sexually.
Here's a video showing a young girl in class on the floor in her school.
On the flip side, the people who agree with you, your brain loves them. They're your new best friends, even if you've never met them IRL. And because your brain likes them, you're more likely to believe whatever they say, even if it's totally bonkers. The social media algorithms are just adding fuel to the fire. They're designed to keep you engaged, and guess what? Anger is super engaging. The more worked up you get, the longer you stay online, and the more extreme content you're exposed to. It's a vicious cycle that turns minor disagreements into full-blown digital wars. Why we all need to chill. So what can we do about it? First off, recognize what social media is doing to your brain. It's easier to change your behavior than to change the entire internet, although that would be nice, wouldn't it? Start by questioning why you believe certain things and whether you're dismissing or accepting information based on who's saying it. We also need to rethink how we use the internet. Remember the good old days of forums, blogs, and bulletin boards? The internet used to be a collection of small communities where people gathered around shared interests. There were no algorithms pushing you to keep scrolling endlessly. You visited your favorite forum, got the information you needed, and then, you won't believe this, you logged off. Wild, right? These smaller communities mirrored real life more closely. They had their own rules and culture, and if you didn't like one, you could just move to another. It was like living in a small town where everyone knew the local norms, and if you didn't fit in, you found a place that suited you better. Maybe that's the solution. Instead of trying to be part of one giant, chaotic digital town square, we should go back to smaller online communities. Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. Team humanity, just floating on a wet rock in space. Until our brains evolve to handle that reality, a little separation might be just what we need. The bottom line. Here's the takeaway. Social media isn't just a place to share cat memes anymore. It's shaping how we see the world, and not always for the better. But by being aware of how it messes with our heads, we can start making smarter choices. Maybe that means spending less time in the digital town square and more time in smaller, like-minded communities where we can actually have constructive conversations. And who knows, maybe one day we'll figure out how to navigate this whole social media thing without wanting to throw our phones into the nearest lake. Until then, let's just try to be a little kinder to each other, even if we're on opposite teams. Because in the end, we could all use a little more perspective and maybe a little less doom scrolling.